What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the test hand combo video for the Dark Magician Azamina profile I showed you all the other day. So quite like with the other test hand of the Shining Sarcophagus version, what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 test hands going first, 2 going second, but with the first test hand it will be uninteracted with, and then the second one will be a little bit more negative and kind of eat up more interactions to show you exactly what this deck can do and how much it can push through. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. After a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, our starting hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's actually, I mean, even with Fulos, this is just like your free easy discard. Like, I know this is going to be my discard for my Witch. Now, the unfortunate thing with Dark Magician in general is it can't really play through Draw and Lockbird. Like, it can still add a bit more to it, but all of their cards want to search. Magician's Rod want to search, Dark Magician of Destruction wants to search, it goes on and on and on. So, yes, you'd probably always want to be activating Wanted, Seeker, Sinful of Spoils during the draw phase. But what I'm trying to say is it doesn't make a big difference. It just means that the search off of Wanted is going to be free, which is good. But if you think you're going to be able to play through draw completely, unfortunately it's not going to be as simple as that. So we start off by doing all of this. We're going to send the Wanted to the graveyard now. Now we move into the main phase. The main phase, you probably want to start off with the Witch. The Witch is always going to be some form of interaction, but it's going to be the exact same thing with the Magician's Rod as well. And the only benefit you do is if your opponent interacts with the Witch here, that's fine. It means your Ready Fusion is going to be good to resolve. I can still turn this into Dark Magician of Destruction. I can still normal summon down my Magician's Rod. Like, I've still got so much more to go for it. So maybe with this particular hand, you don't mind Dark Magician of Destruction being interacted with, but it really is entirely up to you on how you'd want to resolve this one. So by summoning down our Witch, we're then going to get the ability to set a Sinful Spoil spell or trap directly from the deck. And the one you're going to want to go for is your Deception of the Sinful Spoils. Now, in an ideal scenario, what you would usually do is you could use Deception to send the Diabell. And the benefit of doing it this way to get the Hallowed Azamina means that our Dark Magician of Destruction will be completely protected. But at the end of the day, any card effect that could be activated that would interact with our Dark Magician of Destruction probably would have been used to interact with our Diabell Star, the Black Witch. So that's not really making the huge difference. The only other benefit of holding the Deception send effect back is that you would banish the Witch, you'd get into your Dark Magician of Destruction, Dark Magician of Destruction would use its effect to search, then you'd use Deception to send the Dark Magician of Destruction. So, all fine, but because I've opened up Ready Fusion, I don't need a route to get me to the Dark Magician of Destruction. So, I'm probably quite happy protecting the Dark Magician of Destruction by going, cool, Deception, send, set, activate, send, go into Sylvie. I've now got the Omni on the field so that everything else from this point on will be relatively protected. And if I want to get one more draw, I can use Wanted to banish itself, put Deception to the bottom of the deck and draw a card. I don't want to do that just yet because I actually have the ability to kind of deck thing quite a bit as I make these plays. So we'll activate Ready Fusion, we'll go into the Sandwich, you banish the Sandwich, get into Dark Magician of Destruction. Dark Magician of Destruction's effect on this one. For the pure fact that Magician's Rod can get me Gaze, I'm just going to go for Souls. I could actually go for... I mean, I'm only going to get one draw. Yeah, I mean, Gaze is definitely the safest way of doing it. Like, it would be silly to do it any other way. The only other benefit of the back of Dark Magician Structure is you grab Gaze, and then the other card you would grab off the Rod would be Soul Servant. So you could grab these two. The benefit of Soul Servant is that you would be able to get an additional draw in your plays. So entirely up to you. Like, you could do it this way, so that you've got Gaze off of the back of Dark Magician Destruction, Soul Servant off the back of Magician's Rod, and then you would go Soul Servant to stack Magician's Souls, banish Soul Servant to draw the Magician's Souls. So you'd get the exact same, relatively the exact same outcome. It would just look like this more than anything else. And then the final deck thing you're probably going to want to do is your Magician's Soul, send Dark Magician from deck to the graveyard. And now you can probably very easily activate the Wanted. But the way that I look at it is the Wanted is just going to be the discard fodder for Dragoon. So shuffle all of this up. We'll do Wanted effect in the graveyard, banishing it. Oh, that's Deception. Deception will go back to the bottom of the deck. Wanted would then go there. Put that back to the bottom of the deck. Draw a card. This is just going to be a discard fodder, doesn't matter what it is. In an ideal scenario, what you'd have is if you do use Sylvie to protect your field, you can use Hallowed Azamina to put the Sylvie back and add the Hallowed Azamina back, and then again you've got more free discard fodder. So at this exact moment here, now what you've got here is you've just got free kind of like fodder. You've got free link fodder. Now we've got 2 spells in rotation right now. What I'd be looking to do is I'd be looking to go into IP Masquerena. You can use any 2 you want, it doesn't make a huge difference. Go for these 2 here if you want to. Go into IP Masquerena. And then I would activate Gaze of Timaeus. I'd put back Dark Magician back into the main deck. Get myself my Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. There we go. And then I've got Ash and Impulse. So what we're kind of ending our field on here, you could set the Impulse if you really want to, but honestly I'd hold it back because you're going to want 2 discards for this play that I'm about to show you. So during your opponent's turn, what we're going to do here is we're then going to be able to go use Red Eyes Dark Dragoon's first effect, discard the Dominus Impulse, because an Omni Negate is obviously going to be better than what Impulse can provide you. Then what you're going to do is you're going to use IP Masquerena to link off with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and you're going to go into Selene. Selene will now gain a minimum of 3 counters. You've got Gaze, you've got Ready Fusion, you've got Hallowed Azamina. Okay, so this will now have 3. During the main phase, I've got the quick effect to use Selene to revive the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I've then got the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon effect is now back live, so I can now use the Ash Blossom to negate and destroy off of the back of Dragoon, so I'm not actually even using Ash Blossom or Imperm, just like ignore them as being hand interactions, just see them as discard fodders. Or you can basically treat them as Omni Negates if you want to. We've still then got Sylvie's effect that could tribute off as well to then negate, so you would have dealt with 3 Omni Negates at that particular point, so you're in a fairly healthy position. We draw for turn, and the other benefit of this one, doesn't matter what this is either, the benefit of this one, because it's been revived with Selene, it doesn't get sent with the Gaze of Timaeus. So again, you're back into this very, very easy position. If at any point as well that you wanted to recycle, once you activate a spell trap, if you activated any spell or traps, Rod could then tribute off to come back, but because we didn't use Dominus Impulse in that way, it stays where it is. What you can also do is add the Hallowed Azamina back to the hand, putting the Sylvie back to the deck, or back to the extra deck, and now you've just basically replenished your discard fodder should you need it, should you want it. At this particular moment in time, there's not really a lot more you need to do or need to push through. So you've got your Dragoon, which will be on 4,000 because it's only negated once and obviously refreshed itself. So you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 650 there is the amount of damage you've got there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here that we can do. I don't think there is. I think that's pretty much it. Like, you could have looped back the Witch if the requirements came up, but the idea is that, you know, you've traded 3 cards for free during the previous turn, and that is if your opponent didn't interact with you at any point during the build of this. But what this kind of highlighted is it shows you how good Selene can be, and that's something like I've mentioned before that I undervalued, how good Selene could be by bringing back the Dragoon, which is really, really nice. So, yeah, I mean, I could have saved the Magician's Souls, like there's no need to absolutely have to do Magician's Souls, but because I could have used the Dark Magician Distraction to be linked off as well. Anyway, so that was test hand number 1. We're going to shuffle up, we're going to do test hand number 2, but this time we're going to be a bit more negative. So we're going to give our opponent a bit more interaction with us. We'll focus on the more commonly used ones, so we'll focus on stuff like Ash Blossom, and then we'll focus on stuff like Imperm, maybe a Fualos, depending, just to kind of give you a bit of an idea. But with Fualos, you kind of have to make that decision of, do I play under it? Like, not under it, but like, do I not let my opponent draw huge amounts of advantage, or do I just give them as much as they possibly need to? So, anyway, another decent shuffle, another decent cut, and our starting hand of this time being 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, a lot of draw power. Bit of starter as well. Again, during the draw phase, activate your wanted. I can't imagine a particular time where you wouldn't activate this during the draw phase. And I mean, I could be wrong. Someone might be able to say, well, this is the main reason you wouldn't do it in the draw phase. But sometimes your opponent might be like, well, if I've got an Ash, I'm going to Ash that there. I doubt it. But it kind of gives you a bit of an option there. Now with this particular hand, we've got a couple of different options. What I mean by that is I can use Diabell here and send another Diabell, which is absolutely fine, doesn't really do anything, doesn't really cause you any big issues. You don't need to have 2 Diabells, there's no benefit of having 2 Diabells in rotation. So just being able to do this gives us the first Diabell. Attempt to use the effect here. Now, I would be crazy to think that my opponent wouldn't interact with this, because they know that this can lead me to Deception. Deception can then lead me to Hallowed Azamina. Hallowed Azamina leads me to Sylvie, which is the negate that I need. The benefit of the fact of the matter is that I've activated Wanted, so even if they've interacted with this here, I now have two options. Option number one, I can normal summon down the rod. That then baits out another interaction from my opponent, because there's no way they let this card resolve if they have the option to do so. That's our two interactions that we've utilised from our opponent, and then we can turn the Black Witch of the Diabell into the Dark Magician of Destruction. And what you're doing here is you're making sure that this card resolves. This card then lets you resolve. We've already gone through our rod as our starter, so the next best thing can be something along the lines of Magician's Souls, and that just gives you a bit more of your versatility to make sure that there is a Dark Magician in the graveyard, or if you want it in the field, you can get it on the field. So what we'll do here is we'll shuffle this up. Do we need to shuffle it up? I don't think we do, really. We'll activate the Magician's Souls. We'll send a card from deck to grave, being the Dark Magician. There we go. And if our opponent wanted to do it the other way around, if like our opponent wanted to interact with Dark Magician Destruction, I would just use Magician's Rod and grab Dark Magical Circle, and I would do it pretty much the exact same play we would do here. The only time that this would become a bit of a nuisance is if they negate with an infinite impermanence, and again, that's not the end of the world, because I just link these two off and I still have the exact same outcome. So now it really comes down to, do I want a guaranteed add? Now, thinking of all the Dark Magician cards in the deck, I would either be going for a second Gaze of Timaeus, or I would go for a Dark Magical Circle to put on top of the deck, and then I'd have to go Magician's Souls, banish it to draw that card. Not Magician's Souls, sorry, the Soul Servant effect to banish it and draw that card. So, in this scenario, I'm actually just going to use Magician's Souls effect to send the Soul Servant. Gives me a draw, pretty good. Then I can banish the Soul Servant. I've got Dark Magician in the grave and a Dark Magician on the field. I'm going to draw another card. It's not great, but it's absolutely fine. It just gives me more discard fodder. And now it's, again, we can do the exact same play with Selene. We'll just be one monster less, but if I want to use Ready Fusion, I can actually go one more. Let me just have a look. So I've got one spell. I probably do need to use Ready Fusion here, which isn't the end of the world. So we activate Ready Fusion, activate Ready Fusion, grab us Sandwich. We can't banish the Sandwich off of this one, but because we've already got the Dark Magician Destruction, absolutely fine. But what we get to do here is we can now link two off. So let's link off the Sandwich, and let's link off Magician's Rod, go into IP Masquerena. We'll link off Souls and Dark Magician of Destruction, and we'll go into SP Little Knight. Actually, if I wanted to, did I have the ability to... I think I actually, if I didn't want to have this particular field, I could have used Sandwich as a, don't know why it's banished, but I could use Sandwich as a 6 plus, could I use Rod and Souls to make Chaos Angel? One tuner plus one or more non-tuner light and dark monsters. So yeah, I could. So I could have had Chaos Angel, but it would have just been Chaos Angel plus Dark Magician of Destruction, which isn't really worth it. So we get to go into this particular field here. We then get to activate Gaze of Timaeus. This will then allow us to put back Dark Magician Destruction or Dark Magician. Doesn't make any difference. This will then get us into Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So now you'd hold back the Soul Servant. There's no need to set this whatsoever, in my opinion, but we pass to our opponent's turn. The only downside is I've got no way to get another draw. I don't think, anyway. We've already used that to draw. We already used that to draw. I suppose this is the downside of using the Ready Fusion, but you add in the SP Little Knight, is that you just go IP Masquerade, Dragoon, discard to negate, IP to link, go into Selene. So maybe I don't use the Ready Fusion, because I just use Ready Fusion as the discard. Maybe that's the better way of doing it. Selene can then bring back Dragoon, but I don't have a discard to negate. So, but I still have SP Little Knight to banish and banish. But this probably isn't worth it. So, with hindsight, if I rewind this, I would probably have Gaze, that, and that in the hand. We had Dark Magician of Destruction. We then had, and then we'll use Rod and Souls to go into IP. Then we'll use Gaze, putting back the Dark Magician we sent with Souls back into the deck to give us our Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. And that's Gaze gone. Okay, so then our hand would look like this. So rather than having IP plus SP and a Dragoon, we've got IP plus Destruction plus Dragoon. The benefit of this is that our opponent might think we go into SP Little Knight here. But again, you did the exact same thing. Dragoon, discard, Omni negate. And then IP with Dragoon into Selene. I've just put Selene in the graveyard. There we go, Selene. The 3 spells we would have at this point would be Soul Servant, Gaze, and Wanted. So 3 tokens, effect, remove those 3 counters, sorry, bring back your Dragoon. We then have the Omni Negate off the back of Dragoon left. So we would have taken 2 interactions for our opponent. So our opponent has a hand of 6. We take away 2 of those through interactions. We take away 2 of those with Dragoon. Leaves them with 2 cards to utilize to break the field. Now, obviously with Dragoon, because it's an Omni Negate, those 2 cards that you're going to negate with it are going to be cards that are fretful to the field. You're not going to negate something that is not going to fret the field, and then kind of go on from there. So, and again, draw for turn, doesn't matter what it is. Dark Magician again, okay, classic. We've got the benefit of having a Soul Servant in the graveyard, so we can banish the Soul Servant and draw 1 more because of Dark Magician. Again, this is bypassed the fact that it was made with Gaze because we brought it back with Selene. This can then go into attack. It's going to be 4k. We've got the Soul Servant if we want to stack, but we don't actually get any benefit from that because we can't draw. Yeah, and then you just go exact same repeat of the first hand that we did, but the difference was we had 2 interactions, like our opponent interacted with us twice. So, depending on the hand, of course, you can get different outcomes, but the other is you can kind of see that we just didn't get to add the Sylvie to the end field because that was interacted with very easily. So, anyway, what we'll do is we'll shuffle up, we'll go second again this time, and when you're going second, I'm always amazed, like, unless our hand interactions are going to be that strong against our opponent, I'm always amazed if they don't have any interactions. So again, we'll go off of the fact that our opponent has 2 interactions to use against us. We just get an extra card to help us break that. Not to mention any cards in our hand that will make their field weaker. So starting off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's just say Fua replaces 1, so we draw 1 off of the back of it. And then we'll use Impulse on our opponent as well. So then we draw for turn. Draw for turn being Ash Blossom, another classic. Again, this hand is actually really, really good. So there's 2 ways you can play this. You can use Fallen the Virtuous. You can use Fallen the Virtuous as early as you want. You can send. You got 1 or 2 options to send. You send Albion so that you get a Fallen the Virtuous in the next phase. In the next turn, or you choose to send the Ecclesia. So if it's in the graveyard, target a level 8 fusion monster in your grave or banishment and 1 card on the field. Shuffle both of those cards and this card back into the deck. So the reason you would send the Ecclesia is if you're trying to finish the duel this turn, because you would go Fallen the Virtuous, destroy one of your opponent's monsters, send the Ecclesia. Now, I'll show you how the Ecclesia routes work because everyone knows what happens when you send Albion. Okay, we move into main phase. So let's say we traded a disruption off with the Fallen the Virtuous. So we've only got 1 more disruption to worry about. Summon down Deerbell. Unless I feel that my opponent's got a Fua loss or anything like that, I'm probably quite happy to get rid of the Ash Blossom as the send cost. Deerbell's effect is set. Now again, it would be a no-brainer for our opponent to try and stop this, because if they don't stop it, I then work my way into Sylvie, and then I've got the last Omni Negate to trade off with my opponent. So they're probably going to negate this. So that's their second interaction done and dusted. We've already activated a spell card in the form of the Fallen and the Virtuous, so I can trade this off now and go into the Dark Magician of Destruction. Dark Magician of Destruction's effect will go off. I can now choose to search out Rod, Gaze, Souls, you name it. So, Gaze, so these are like the 4 targets I'd be going for out of the combinations of what I've got here. So, let's go for Rod. Normal summon down Rod. Rod's effect, get me Gaze, is probably the safest option for me right now. And then we'll do Illusion of Chaos, reveal itself, grab you Magician's Souls, put the Hallowed... put itself back to the deck. And the reason that I put itself back is because I want the spell to send off of the Magician's Souls to draw a card. Like, I might as well, right? I could... actually, do I want Souls on the field? Probably don't need it, to be honest. In this scenario, I'm probably better off just going Souls, send Dark Magician, but summon the Dark Magician because I want to be aggressive. And then, because I want to take it up 1 more step, I can actually put these 2 together, go into Chaos Angel? Yeah, Chaos Angel. I'll hold back the Gaze, actually. And the reason I hold back the Gaze is that I'm going to now use Ecclesia's effect. Obviously, I could use Gaze to put back this and get a monster added to the field. But instead, I'm going to use Ecclesia to put these 2 back. Return a card my opponent's controls to the from the field to the hand. And then we'll go to the battle phase. We'll attack with Chaos Angel, attack with Dark Magician, still in the battle phase, activate Gaze, target Dark Magician, and then fusion summon from your extra deck a monster that mentions it as material by shuffling it into the deck. So that would go back into the deck. We'd then summon out Dragoon. Dragoon can then attack for 3k. We've called back the Hallowed Azamina. That's our negate off the back of the Dragoon. And then you go from there. But like I said, you wouldn't make the Ecclesia play if you weren't going to end the duel. If you were going to end the duel, which on this one I've attacked with Chaos Angel. I also attacked with, to be honest actually, I could probably go one step further. I could try and work my way into the... I could try and work my way into the Chaos one. Dark Magician of Chaos, if I wanted to. Master of Chaos, if I wanted to. But again, so if I'm not going to finish the duel off here... yeah, if you're not going to finish the duel off here, you go Dragoon. But then it means that the Fallen and the Virtuous would have sent Albion, and you'd get a Fallen and the Virtuous in the end phase. But I feel actually if I am going to end the duel, rather than going Dragoon, I go Master of Chaos. And the reason I do that is on the fusion summon, I target a light or dark in the graveyard, so I get to bring back Rod. Now, obviously, I'm not going to add more advantage to that, but what I now have is that I've upgraded my attack from 3,000 to 4,600. So it would have been 3,500, 2,500 for Dark Magician, 3,000 for Master of Chaos, and then 1,600 for Magician's Rod. And then if I absolutely have to, I can link these both off. And in doing so, yeah, I can link these both off and go into like an IP or an SP. So just adds another disruption. So an SP, banish. But at this point, you should have already won the duel. Like, the decisions that I made throughout that play should have won me the duel. Or ended that duel then and there. So, cool. All right, we'll do a final test hand going second this time. It just kind of shows you different options you have. Like, Chaos Angel could be aggressive. Chaos Angel has been able to banish a card. Obviously, all our cards can't be destroyed by battle. So if our opponent has monsters that are 3,000 or 3,500, we just run them into them, destroying their monsters but not our own. And it just continues to give you a nice little layer of advantage. So after another decent shuffle and another decent cut, our starting hand of 5 moving into 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've ashed our opponent. And then 6 will draw for turn, another ash, classic. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit trickier. Now, what I mean by that is I can activate Preparation of Rites. I don't think my opponent's going to interact with Preparation of Rites unless they draw us from Resolution, and I've already said, if you get drolled in this deck, it's going to suck. It's going to suck royally. So the cards I've got here that my opponent will interact with me without a shadow of a doubt will be Illusion of Chaos, Deception, and Magician's Rod. Like, unless they're playing an Impulse to stop the gaze, for example. But with these 3 cards here, they probably don't interact directly with Illusion of Chaos, but once the Illusion of Chaos gets what it needs, they probably interact with whatever I'm trying to get to, so Magician's Souls or whatnot. You could go normal summon Magician's Rod. That's going to get interacted with 100%. I then activate Deception of the Sinful Spoils. I would be amazed if they have another interaction and this doesn't get interacted with, whether it be on the activation or the ability to tribute a monster from the hand or field. So if they're like, right, well, I'll wait for you to pay the cost. I pay the cost for it, and then they interact with this, it'd be like, okay. In a scenario like this, if I'm being completely honest, I'd probably sack off the Ash, because at least if my opponent does negate and destroy this, or negate it, or whatever, I still have the monster on the field. Now, the benefit of that is I can now reveal the Illusion of Chaos. The Illusion of Chaos will then get me into Souls, remembering that our opponent knows we have this. So if you start off with this to go for the Magician's Souls and they interact with it, it means that one of these two will resolve. The only difference is if they let both of, not this one, but if they let this resolve, I don't get a Dark Magician in rotation. But as soon as this resolves, I go Magician's Souls. This goes back to the deck. Magician's Souls, send Dark Magician. Go into Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls could send the Deception to draw us a card. Just shuffle up to be fair. Unless they destroyed it, and then obviously you don't get the draw. So we get to draw a card. Foolos, classic. And then what we've got here is we've got a couple of different options. So what I mean by that is, if I want to be uber aggressive and clear off my opponent's entire monster lineup, I can turn Souls into Magistus, Artemis the Magistus Maiden Moon. I can use Gaze of Timaeus to put back Dark Magician. This would then get us into Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos effect will bring back Souls. I can then use Master of Chaos's effect to send Artemis and Magician Souls being 1 light, 1 dark. Banish all of my opponent's monsters. And then I go in for 3,000, and then I go in for 1,600. So I've cleared off all my opponent's monsters. They've all been banished. The only issue that we now have is that we don't really have anything. So I either then go put these two together and go into an SP Little Knight, and then go banish and banish a card from the graveyard. And then when they activate something, I would go SP Little Knight, banish, and then I can use Fuelos. Or I don't think there's actually anything else worthwhile going into with those two cards. It's literally just going to be that SP play. But they've lost all of their monsters, and this is where we're at. The other option that you have, and I'm just going to rewind it a little bit, is rather than Magician Souls summoning to get that random draw of the Fua, so that stays in the deck, you would actually summon the Dark Magician. So I'm just going to rewind this a little bit. So we'd summon out the Dark Magician rather than doing anything else. We have Gaze in our hand, I believe. There we go. And we had Deception on the field. So you'd have these two. You'd put these two together. You'd go into Chaos Angel. And then you'd activate Gaze, put back Dark Magician. Go into Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos effect can then revive. You could revive the Souls and then send if you want to, or you just revive the Rod for a bit more aggression. There's no point in going into Dragoon at that point. But at the end of the day, Chaos Angel's banished a card. Master of Chaos has banished, not banished all our monsters, sorry, because we don't have a light to send. If I want to, I can turn this into Artemis and do that. But at this point, these can't be destroyed by battle, and you would just be going attack, tack, tack kind of vibe. And then Maphis too, if you want to, you can go into an SP Little Knight. So, not perfect, but considering what we had, we ashed our opponent, made him a little bit weaker, and then we lost, our opponent interacted with us on Rod and Deception. So that's, again, 2 cards that didn't resolve. The other benefit that you could have done with this is I gaze into Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos brings back Magician's Rod, and then I can banish the Master of Chaos to get me the Dark Magician of Destruction. The benefit of doing something like this, so again, just rewinding this one, we revive this, we've got a Chaos Angel. Sorry if this gets a bit confusing, I'm just kind of trying to rewind to show you, like, the same play has like 3 or 4 different options. So Master of Chaos brings back Magician's Rod, we banish this, we summon out the Dark Magician of Destruction. Then Dark Magician of Destruction's effect goes off. Probably, if I'm being honest, I can go Soul Servant. It doesn't make any difference. I'd go Soul Servant and you could stack the Gaze, or you just add a Gaze. So you can set the Gaze that during your opponent's turn, what you'd now do is you'd do the exact same thing. You'd go attack, tack, tack. But then you can link these two off. Go into IP. During your opponent's turn, you can activate Gaze. Gaze would put back Dark Magician of Destruction. Then you'd go into another Dark Magician option. Like, Dragoon probably isn't worth it, but maybe the Dark Magicians might be worth it. It's kind of up to you. And what would happen here is if your opponent activates a spell. Now, Spell Tracker is a monster effect to draw a card, you can activate it if this card is destroyed. So the benefit would be the exact same way that we did the Selene play. But our opponent activates a spell card, we go, cool, Dark Magicians, draw a card. Doesn't matter what it is, kind of use it as a blank. IP with the Dark Magicians. Go into Selene. Again, we only have 2 spells in our graveyard, but remember our opponent's just activated a spell for us to draw off the back of the Dark Magicians. Selene would then remove those 3 counters, bring back the Dark Magicians, and then we'd be in the same position. Like, if our first card we drew off of the Dark Magicians was a spell, and we can use it, we'd be in a good position, because then we would use it and draw another card. But this is your draw option, and again, they can't be destroyed by battle, which makes it quite awkward for your opponent to kind of deal with. So that's pretty much it. Like, there's loads of different avenues you can go down this one. And as you can see through most of the plays, they don't rely on the Azaminas. It's not like if Azamina doesn't resolve, I can't go anywhere. And it's the same with the Shrine of Sarcophagus. It's not as if the Shrine of Sarcophagus package doesn't resolve, I don't play. That's not the case. And what I've tried to do with these two builds so far is they're still Dark Magician focused. Yes, the better ways to play them is if you're playing White Forest with Dark Magician of Destruction, or if you're playing Shrine of Sarcophagus with Dark Magician of Destruction. But I want to play Dark Magician, so this is the Dark Magician version of this deck. Anyway, hopefully it's giving you a bit of an insight into the deck, giving you a bit more of an understanding on what the deck wants to try and achieve and how it wants to try and achieve it. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.